Talking Tottenham, a fantasyfocus.com production.
Welcome everyone to episode 169 of Talking Tottenham.
Nice.
I knew that was coming from you, Shakes. You're a pesky wild man these days.
I did not know it was 169 bucks.
Yeah, we're getting up there in age a little bit. And I'm sure as the season goes on, we'll be doing a couple of 2 a week type of shows. So that's we'll be at 200 before you know it. And then you look back and you're like, wow, there's far too much history surrounding this show for anyone to scrape up. We might have to do a clean sweep of whatever was out there, maybe make it private and then re-release them. You know how Star Wars, tapes. The re-release? Yeah, the Lost tapes.
I like that.
We might have to do that. So we're doing something a bit different for anybody that's tuning in live here. If you're listening in, thank you. You can find us on YouTube, Talking Tottenham Pod, on Twitter at TTPodCoys for the listener questions. But this is more for anybody that's tuning in live. We're doing a quick show here, probably 30 to 40 minutes approximately, where we'll be going through preseason reactions, a few listener questions, and then directly into Man City predicted 11s, predictions as to how the match might shake out, and final score. From that point on, we will be stopping and going back live with a different background, as we will be having Everton Jordan join for his annual season preview episode. This is a fellow that lives, breathes, dies with the English Premier League. So he's going to be on here. He's broken down things to a different level, I'm sure, and to talk about his observations on the league, where teams will end up. So we'll be getting into that right after this, but let's not waste any more time here, Shakes. I want to start this podcast by making a proclamation. Paratici has failed us, and it has been miserable watching Leo Messi put on a PSG kit today. Of all the freebie free throw shots that a nice director of football has to make, it should be easy with the best stadium in the world to pull in one of the best players in the world for free.
When the Rat goes into the Hall of Fame, Bucks, do they even have that? I'm not sure. But when he does, it'll be in the first couple lines. He just unfortunately didn't seal the deal and bring in Leo Messi for Spurs. And what are we going to do? I don't think we could afford the wage structure though, buddy.
I'm not so much worried about the wage structure of the fella as I am the fact that I feel like this is the first monumental failure that I'm going to hang on my wall. It's kind of like the kill list from Billy Madison that Steve Buscemi had. This is the first miss list that I'm going to put up there for Paratici. All right, overall, we beat Arsenal 1-0 in what I really found to be a fantastic performance. I love the energy. I love the approach with the long ping balls from Dave Sanchez. Who knew he had those in him?
For sure. Those came out of nowhere, Bucks. And Spurs were on the front foot, I would say the first 10, 15 minutes of the match. The two holding mids, Chaka and who's their new signing, Lokonga?
Yeah.
How do you say his name?
I believe that's how you say it.
They established a little bit more dominance as the first half wore on. But I would say second half, it was also mostly Spurs, to the point where I thought Spurs were the more likely to score. Would it have been unfair if Arsenal either drew the match or won the match? Probably not, because it's not like it was just an absolute onslaught. But I just thought Spurs were the better team, Bucks. And, compare that to the Chelsea match a couple days before that. Chelsea was a better team than Spurs. That's what it is. Spurs got work to do. Chelsea are the reigning European champions. So Spurs seem to fit kind of right in the middle there, right? Got some work to do to catch up with Chelsea, but I think they're just better than Arsenal.
Now, catching up with Chelsea is something they were able to do against the B squad in the second half. That gives me a little bit of faith. We shook things up a little bit in that second half as well. But one thing that has remained constant here is the effort levels. And they've gotten better as we've progressed through the preseason matches here. Neither of us really knew how to feel going into the Mind series or Friendlies with Rivals series, as I like to call it. Just having a nice burger and some French fries with your deepest enemies. Those were anything but friendlies, tough competitive matches. But the approach from Spurs I liked because it was different in both matches. We're kind of seeing the different thoughts and ideas where Nuno's asking the players to maybe take a different approach. The long ball game that we had against Arsenal, it makes sense, right? If you're going to deploy a Stevie B, Son, Lucas front line with Dele doing those deep tracking, infiltrating runs, hit him with the deep ball, create that space, and know that you have the speed on the other end to do it. I was very impressed with Dave Sanchez and his ability to spray those long balls. But I loved what I saw once the ball was collected from both Lucas and Son. I thought they were both pretty damn tremendous in their hold-up play against Arsenal, that is.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal, if they thought about pressing a little bit, they weren't like aggressive Man City, Liverpool pressing, but Spurs would try to take them over the top end and then also sailed over Chaka and Lokanga. So you could tell it was at the very least Bucks done to keep Arsenal honest, if you will, so that just you weren't going to see complete pinching up and trying to push back their right and left back as well for Spurs, because you had Tanganga starting at right back, which he's not 100% familiar with, but he's played there before, and Reggie likes to get forward. So it was a good little game plan. Had a little shades of Jose, though, at the start of his tenure with Spurs. So I'm not in love with that being the go-to plan of action. I always think Spurs should look into building it's from the back, but it's tough sometimes when you have Dyer and Dave back there. So if they feel better trying to hit those long balls because they're open, and then also it'll keep the midfielders a little bit more honest, as well as the forwards, I'm all for it. Dave played well. Dyer played well. It's a preseason match, so it's tough to hang our hat on that. Who else do you think played pretty well? I mean, you mentioned, we got Dele out there. You had the front line of Steve, Lucas, Son, which I think starts against Man City. They all seem like they've been playing with a lot more continuity as this exhibition season, preseason has gone on. So I feel like there's some silver linings to be taken there too, right? Where they're not scoring tons and tons of goals, but it does feel like there is a lot more continuity between them.
Continuity's there. I want to first counterpunch you because that's what I do best. When you say it reminded you of how Jose was implementing it, with Jose, the wings were not nearly as forward facing. So it seemed like it was an island between the number 10 and Kane at times when we were playing those long balls, or Son on an island without the proper men tracking back to get, or tracking forward to get into the box. So what I saw was an orchestrated attack using those wings that were more forward facing, and it worked out really well. It something looks different. And I don't know if it's that it's preseason and we've had a similar run with the same front line for a series of matches here against varying levels of opponents, or if it's simply just a change in attitude. Because I'm not going to overanalyze it until we get past Sunday. That's not worth our time.
For sure.
What I'm saying is the level of effort has been awesome. And just seeing Spurs going through different types of cycles as they penetrate the attacking zone. It's not that same stale movement we saw the latter part of Poch's reign and then all throughout Jose. They were stale passes, stale spots on the pitch. The movement was too similar all the time. We never developed those nice large pockets on either wing where then things can start to open up and you see Dele Alli tracking inside, which hats off to Dele. I mean, if we want to answer your second question, Dele's movement against Arsenal was vintage Dele. It's a miracle for Arsenal he did not score those goals. That's pretty tragic for us because it would have been big for him to get those confident 2017, 2018 Dele type goals back under the belt against Arsenal at home in front of supporters for the first time in a year and a half. It didn't happen, but I'll tell you what, the guy played a hell of a match. He impressed me. Tanganga as well. I'll get there, trust me.
I know you got a lot to say about the sack, Tanganga. Spurs' best right back, maybe right now. But let's talk about Dele because I thought that is what looked different when Spurs were playing those long balls. Yes, it wasn't exactly Jose version of it. Dele was kind of being asked to be a box-to-box midfielder. Like if you asked me, was this formation a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3? I would have said it was a 4-3-3 when Spurs were out of possession. Dele had this, the absolute, he was required, I would say. It wasn't requested. It was required, Bucks, for him to get back all the way box to box. And then if Spurs had sustained possession, he got to pinch up further, and he was also allowed to make a driving run when Spurs were in possession with their center halves. If Dave and Dyer had the ability to get it to him, for a long ball. So that's what kind of looked different was Dele wasn't just kind of free man flowing in the final third which unfortunately I just don't think that works. I also don't know if it really works if he picks the ball up really deep either. I just think it's better if he's just in a 4-3-3, probably more shade on the left side, being a midfielder, and just he's a midfielder. He has responsibilities like a midfielder. He needs to track back if he needs to. It's just also, though, he has the responsibility of being that fourth attacker for Spurs when they're in possession or looking for the deep ball. So I just think you've watched Dele grow more into this position that Nuno has assigned him to as the exhibition preseason has gone on. And I don't know if it's sustainable, Bucks. The one main thing that I think about is burnout. I mean, that's just a lot of a lot of steps out there, on his pedometer. So he'll be putting on a ton of mileage if that's how he's being asked to. It'll be interesting to see how it looks different against someone like a Man City where you won't have possession. Does that kind of mitigate Dele? Whereas if Spurs are playing against a bottom half table team, I think you will see him more in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 pushing forward.
So I thought you were plugged into Dele's Insta all summer. The guy's been posting fitness videos. He's single
fit.
day. He's
fit.
fit.
Is he Nuno fit? Is he ready to just run the midfield with Højbjerg, the Viking, and Skip, who's just swole as fuck right now?
Here's where I feel very confident. And once we get into a couple of these listener questions, I'll elaborate more. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But everyone talking and pleading for more transfers in. What's the number? What do we really need? This team is stacked full of talented 25 or under individuals, especially through the wings and versatility type players that we have. So I don't think we're going to ask Dele to go in every single match and play that same role. I've noticed about Nuno, I think his approach kind of changes match to match. It's in a way where he's asking the players to do something different, not just changing up formation or how we line up at the back.
But that's good. He's trying to fit the players, I think.
Absolutely. The burnout would scare me if I wasn't sitting here trying to just scatter down whatever I thought that Man City 11 would be, which was an exercise shakes. It took me an hour and 15 minutes today to conclude at where we were, how we lined up, and what we look like on Sunday against City.
Took me 5 seconds.
Well, of course it did. You're the guy who knows it all. I'm the guy that's trying to learn. But I'm also the guy that can either feel higher than hell on Spurs or as low as I've ever felt in my life on Spurs in a matter of 5 to 6 minutes. So it's
that's just because I just copied the Arsenal lineup, not because I feel like I know more.
Yeah, I actually ended up with the Arsenal lineup.
That's all I did.
There you go, folks. There's starting 11s.
Yep.
But I do feel that with GLC being able to slide in there, the fact that we added Skip to be able to play that Hoj role can kind of put some variability on how we throw him out there. Overall, I'm excited at what I see from Dele. I love his hair. I'm loving his Dale Doback quote that he has on his arm. It's all good stuff, man.
What's your favorite color dread? I think I like the green one.
Is it green or is it like blue?
I don't know if it's like bluish green. Maybe
I like that. I like all the dreads. I think it looks sweet. I think it's giving him that good swagger that he needs.
The edge, man. It is the edge. That would be the one difference. I don't want to jump ahead to Man City, but it's like, do you think just Lo Celso's better to start and you're just playing a true 4-3-3 because you just think really it's going to be few and far between the moments where Dele gets to go forward against Manchester City?
I went to bed last night thinking it was going to be GLC because I wanted somebody who's going to carry it more instead of just having that reactionary tricks, flicks, all that good stuff. But then I watched the highlights from Arsenal again and the runs that Dele was pulling and the fact that Sonny and Lucas both were looking to find him on those and able to do so multiple times. That tells me if we can hold any semblance of a similar makeup that we had against Arsenal, which I think we might be able to do depending on how Man City lines up, whether or not Ederson makes a start, I bet he will, but he just got back, I believe, yesterday. So it's one of those things where there's a lot of variables here. But if it's Stefan in goal, it's Dele for me all day. If it's Ederson and we need to play kind of adjust the tactics there, I could see GLC. But the point in all this is saying that there are some different options there. And that makes me feel for the first time like, maybe we are just 2 more players away from having all the cards in the deck. And now it's up for Nuno to play him properly. because I look at up and down this roster and I see depth, but I see unproven depth. Well, if anything, bringing in new players that cost $40-50 million, it's a great thing. I think it needs to happen. Do I think we need 5 of them? No. I think we probably need 2 more as we currently stand. But it all really hangs on Kane. Kane's out, then maybe we swap some folks out. But and this might get lambasted by the people out there. I truly look at that roster structure, and I think it's just a timing thing. We need more time. We need to let the rat cook. We need to let Nuno cook. Let them get comfortable with what they're doing. We need to give them our full support, because what I've seen from Nuno is a guy that I would genuinely love to sit down, and I'm not even saying have a beer with. That'd be great, but just pick his brain. What's your management style? How can I get better from you? Usually when I watch a manager speak, Sean Dyche being 1, Jose being 2, it polar opposites. Like Sean Dyche, I definitely only want to crush beers with you. I'll ask you about locker room hijinks, but I won't ask you about anything related to the game, related to man management. Maybe a few questions. That's not a detriment to him. But with Jose, it's like I would never have a beer with you. I would love to have a beer with Nuno, but after listening to him speak, I almost feel like I'd pay money to see him speak at like a summit for
like
30, 40 minutes. Yeah.
You're sitting there in a folding chair.
Love his
one of those
attitude,
tables.
Shakes. It's got me believing.
Hey man, right now I'm a believer too, and I get what you're saying, Bucks. I mean, it all depends on the transfer outs to me, because right now, depth wise, midfield, if you are going to have Winks back there and keep Ndombele, well, it doesn't unfortunately touch on that. He's just not in plans, and you know, when we're on the 4th manager and they all seem to dislike you, Tanguy, it might be a you problem, and I just think it comes down to that right back side, Bucks. I know, let's segue this right into Tanganga. I thought he played super well, but if you want a right back that moves forward more, is comfortable in possession, can play almost as like a midfielder on the right side, Tanganga's meant to be a center back. I think one day he will be a center back for Spurs. That's where he wants to play too. He might be the best right back on Spurs right now, and that tells more of the situation of right back for Spurs, not so much how good Tanganga is at right back. I think he starts actually against Man City, though, Bucks. He played well against Arsenal. He was buttoned up at the back, so really defensively, no concerns there, as you wouldn't expect to be. And it is kind of like later on in the match, it's like, oh, look at it. Like it gets to like the 70th, 80th minute, and then that's where you see him kind of, you know, getting a little braver and growing into the game and making some moves forward, and it helps set up the goal that won it against Arsenal for Sonny.
It's a proud moment.
Yeah, I bet it was.
For him.
Sitting out at your minivan, honking your horn.
Well, you can tell how
it's ready.
What I liked most was the fight that ensued prior to that, in that buildup in the right corner there, where he had to fight for possession and then had the audacity to chase down the ball that he played for Lo Celso, kind of not knowing where to go with it, and then having that intuition to let Lo Celso play the ball and just instantly make that darting run to that unoccupied space there in the box. And the body positioning was the effort was top class. And that's what it's going to boil down to with Spurs. Are they feeling lively enough to get it done when it's in a weird position in the box? That was a weird spot. But Tanganga using his sack, I mean, honestly, he dropped his sack.
Shielded it with his sack.
It was sack shield.
Honestly, I thought it was like fundamentally sound. That's what I thought of. I'm like, look at the way he like shields the guy with the ball, and then he looks up and finds their best player. Like that was well thought out and well done.
He looked like Shaquille O'Neal boxing a guy out in his prime.
Just getting wide.
Getting real wide.
Really expanded the sack there.
Couple of good takeaways with him, though. His speed looks good. He does look more and more confident on the ball. And I think that'll just come with more reps. But I agree with you and our listener, Alex Asher, who's tuning in right now. I agree. I think he's the best right back on the team as we currently stand. I think he starts against City, and I'm super excited for him. But stepping up in a moment where there's rumors of you potentially going over to Turkey on a loan spell, when it seems to me that not going to spend much time on it, it seems to me like he's ready. And he will have his problems. He won't play perfect, but no player plays perfectly.
He's not ready to be Spurs starting right back for the entire season. No. I get it. He played well, Bucks, but just stop it with the love fest a little bit. Pump the brakes. He could be a good player for Spurs, but just to assume he's just suddenly the right back that we've always needed, and he's just been there the whole time. That's he even wants to play center back. And it's just so different to be the modern day fullback, as they call it, where you're really moving forward and you need to have the ball on your feet, and you just got to be excellent at crossing the ball, especially with your right foot, your right-sided fullback. It's just not 100% him, Bucks. He's going to be a very good player for Spurs, but let's just not fit him unfairly into this position where it could set him up to fail, lose confidence. Next thing you know, it affects his center back play. I just don't want to go there. I think he could be serviceable in that spot. He could play there a little bit more often, maybe in the Europa Conference, maybe in, FA or something like that. But to just think he's just plug and play right back, that's the Spurs' next incoming transfer has to be a right back. Period, end sentence, end paragraph. If they want to get another center back too, great. That's fine. But right back needs to be the need they addressed by the end of the transfer window. It has nothing to do with Tanganga being bad at right back or anything like that. It's just he's meant to be a center back, and it would just be trying to patch this up for the entire season.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can just see the look on my face listening to you drivel on about God knows what. I think he might be pound for pound our most promising youngster.
Off of friendly against Arsenal.
That there's nothing friendly about that, Shakes. There's nothing friendly about that.
Agreed.
That's still Arsenal. They started their starting 11. Basically.
I mean, is it possible he was just very good, but it's tough to trust that he'll be very good every game? I mean, we can have those two competing thoughts, Bucks.
No.
I thought he was very good. That just doesn't equal he just starts the rest of the season at right back.
I'm not saying start the rest of the season. I'm saying no loan spell. Get matches in for Spurs. You said it. He wants to play center back. He can do that. He can also play right back. He provides us with a level of versatility on the defensive end to the likes of which we don't have currently. He's our most versatile defender.
So I am in the camp. You have to keep him if you don't bring in another right back. And I think it'd be crazy if the Rat did not do that, bring in a right back. And maybe we should threaten all of our players. Like, we're sending you to Turkey if you don't start shaping up and playing better. I mean, because he had just a great game. I just keep going back to that. He had a very good game. It's just we're trying to fit him in a position where long-term he doesn't even want to be there. And I do agree, Bucks. I'd rather him on the team than go to Turkey. However, if he wants to play and we want him to get meaningful minutes, I'm talking 2,000, 3,000 minutes plus, he just needs to be loaned out. And I just hope a championship side steps up to the plate and we just see him as starting right-sided center back for 40 of those matches. That's what I want.
Do you think Rick Ankiel wanted to be a position player when he first came into the big leagues? Baseball, I'm talking here, folks.
No idea your reference, but I'm just
Rick
saying.
Ankiel. So Rick Ankiel, he was a very talented player for the St. Louis Cardinals, gets drafted as a pitcher. All of a sudden, he gets to the big leagues after years and years of reps as a pitcher and cannot control his fastball to save his life, to the tune of which he went and threw 4 directly into the netting behind home plate before they yanked him for his last ever pitch in the major leagues. Then, instead of quitting the game, he realizes he can use his various athletic prowess to become a great outfielder. And he became a very damn good major league outfielder. My point is, it's not about where you play or your pride that matters. It's about getting on the pitch. So if you're getting on the pitch, as Tanganga, all he cares about is Spurs. The kid has been raised Spurs. He bleeds for Spurs. That's what the guy does, man. And to say that just because he wants to play center back, he was the one that denied the loan to Turkey. He was the one that said, I don't care where you play me. I want to play. We have a need. I can address that need. Is it a perfect match? No. But is Tomiyasu? Is Tomiyasu just oodles and oodles better than Japhet Tanganga? Yes
Oodles
or no?
And noodles?
Oodles and oodles. I could have said oodles and noodles.
Don't ask me to talk about Tomiyasu's highlight reel at right back. I've seen him play center back on some clips, and Watching on
isn't
on
that
the
weird
YouTube
that that's
Bucks.
the only rumor out there, Shakes?
Well,
so I don't want to hear it.
The rat could be cooking, Bucks. You don't know that. He could be bringing something in. And look, I think we're kind of in violent agreement in that if Spurs do not have a right back solution, meaning it's just Doherty and Serge are still on the team or transferred out and no one else came in, yes, we have to keep Tanganga. I agree with that. I just think Spurs' next big sign needs to be a right back. And what that does then is pushes your boy Tanganga into a lone role where hopefully he gets a lot of minutes and he can be big time for Spurs in the coming years. I'm long-term outlook Shakes here. You're just short-sighted in the moment, Bucks.
I resent that.
In the moment, Bucks. We'll ask EJ.
Now we're
Who's
not
more in the
bringing this
moment?
back up. We're not bringing this up with EJ. All right. So as far as impressive players, so I've deemed certain players impressive, solid, or NA.
I like it.
Impressive for me was Son.
I'll do an agree or disagree. I
we
agree.
barely talked about Son on this, but Son's
Meanwhile,
been
Spurs
fantastic.
best player, not close.
Lucas, Deli, Tanganga, and then I know it was brief with Sanchez, but damn, Sanchez put in a shift against Arsenal.
They all did. No, I give those guys all the same marks. I felt like Højbjerg, he's still kind of getting back into it. He got subbed out, 65th, 68th minute for Lo Celso. You could have threw him in there. Skip played more. He played 85 minutes, I think, Bucks. But Lucas and, Steve's kind of coming into it too. I mean, to see those guys kind of work together, it gives you look, Spurs right now, like if you told me Spurs scored 3 goals, I'd be like, man, how'd that happen? Against like a top Prem team, not a top, but like a top 12, in the table type team. That seems kind of far, fleeting, all those things. But I mean, watching these guys kind of play together, we can definitely build some confidence here that there's something going on. It's just we need to be a little bit stronger at the back because I think we'll have to win these games 1-0, 2-1. And Dave, maybe he's riding some confidence from Copa. I don't get it, but there will be a lot of pressure put on Dave when he starts probably alongside Dyer in a couple days against the best team in the league.
I wish it was only a couple of days. We're still 5 out.
5?
Yeah, yesterday dragged on forever. Today was twice as bad as that.
I'm refreshing all the Twitter.
I'm looking at a full week tomorrow. 24 hours is going to feel like 7 days. But I'm going to get through it. I also think Højbjerg and Skip have been very, very solid. And that's what we need from them. We don't need impressive. We just need solid. I got Steve in there as solid. Reggie's been solid. I got to give a shout out to my guy Puscazzi. He was solid. Eric Dyer's been solid as well. And then Pierluigi Gallini, solid.
I like Gallini. He's all over the Instagram, the Twitter handle. He's going to be like Spurs voice on the interwebs.
I hope he drops a new rap video at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm
in. Do you get Eminem vibes with the blonde hair?
Of course. Just Why like not? A real thick Eminem.
Dane Scarlett came in too for some spot time, Buck.
He'd be Feminem. Thick Eminem.
It will be interesting to see if Serge is anywhere to be found on Sunday.
And then we have the NA list, or where are you? Harry Kane. I understand. Final. I still want you to be successful at Spurs. I hope you stay. We're not even going to talk about Harry Kane. We're going into this thinking Harry Kane is Tottenham. Obviously, we haven't seen him. Tanguy Ndombele is the one where I just can't make heads or tails here. I really want to see him thrive at Spurs. Whoever gets the best from him is going to be absolutely impressed with everything he delivers. I just don't know who that is, what level that is. When that happens, I think is probably the bigger question. Like, when do things change? I know we just had a child, but man, it's very odd to see him on the bench and not even chosen for a 15-minute run-in.
I mean, yeah, he's on the bench, but not as a substitute. He's just there, just watching it like you and me.
Yeah.
I mean, I said it earlier, Bucks. Poch did play him a little bit, but he even said like, "Oh, it's going to take him a couple years to get adjusted to this." And then Jose had his famous run-ins with him. They seemed to work things out, and suddenly he was playing a little bit more. Ryan Mason played him one time and then said, "Done with this." Didn't play him again in those remaining 5-6 matches. And now Nuno just says he's not injured, but he's just not in a space where he can contribute, I guess. Like, that's the part that is just so befuddling to me. Is he just flat out of shape and needs to get back into, and when I say out of shape, they're all world-class athletes. So does he got to get back into game shape because just he won't hold more than 30 minutes out there, so you'd have to sub him out? Is he just not listening to his coaches? Does he just have a bad attitude? Like, what possibly is it that makes him that much of a pariah around there, Bucks? Because every manager thinks this. So if it's just an attitude problem, if it's just, look, like, again, like I said, if every single person has a problem with you, it's probably a you problem. And it just sucks, Bucks, because I think he's got worlds of talent, and it just doesn't seem like he's buying into whatever it is that whoever the manager is. Like you see Skip or Hoiberg or Lo Celso or Deli, like anybody else in the midfield must be miles ahead of him when it comes to buy-in. Is what it sounds like.
No, it's exactly what it sounds like, because there are things that man can do with the ball at his feet that not a single soul, even in the Premier League, can do. We've seen it. The double pirouette, insane. I mean, the guy is just absolutely insane when he's at his peak. It's just, what is the end goal for him? I mean, is it getting a move back to France? Is it Germany? Is it a different league altogether? None of us know these things, but I really hope we get it together for him at Spurs. And I hope, and at this stage, Alex, you said it well here in the comments, running out of patience, 4 different managers with hugely different personalities. Now, not a huge fan of him. I'm still a fan of Tanguy Ndombele. I really think he can be excellent for Spurs. It's just a matter of showing up, putting the effort in. The attitude's got to be right. I don't know what it is. And at this stage, I'm going in thinking he'll be out by the end of the month.
If the right deal came along, Bucks, I think he's absolutely gone. It's just it's blood in the water, man, and times are tight. So you might not see the offer that you need. Also, guys, on other squads, like the other rats out there, the other Paraticis, they see he's not starting for Spurs, nor is he even on the bench. So they're probably sending out some lowball offers too, thinking Spurs got to just recoup whatever they can at this point. And I don't know what to make of it, man. I just really don't get it. It sucks. I just want Nuno seems to be the guy so far in the pressers where he's just going to be more like Poch and not ever slam a player, but he's not going to really give you a lot of insight. Jose, obviously the opposite. He might have told you XYZ, like just, well, he wasn't here for this reason, that reason, and whatever, and we need to work on it. Like he just would have been out and just said that in front of like everyone in the world. So I think we're back to kind of like the way Poch was with Nuno. So we're probably not going to get a lot out of him. So we just got to kind of, I guess, keep the Twitter refreshing with things that Ndombele say or post, as well as what the beat writers are saying, because I just feel so in the dark with not understanding what's going on. It just seems like the same thing as normal, though, unfortunately, which is he doesn't get along or doesn't put in the effort or whatever it is, and that sucks because that's not even talking about him as like a talent or player. That's just saying like as an individual, he's not putting in the best effort that he should, and that almost feels unfair to say to him, but it's tough to come up with a different reason.
It's tough. I just hope build him in. I mean, I don't think it's ever been. I mean, last year he started the first match, he scored a goal.
Yeah.
So
2 years ago, same thing. Started that match, scored against Villa. Spurs won 3-1.
What's the deal here, not Tanganga? That's my guy, Tanguy.
Yeah.
Very similar names, those two. So we will do listener questions. By the way, this will be an abridged show. We're about to end here in about probably 7 to 8 minutes. And then we'll be getting right back on with Everton Jordan, EJ, who comes on once a year for his in-depth season preview from his eyes. It's always good to get a different perspective of the Premier League, his perspective on Spurs, and everything that he's thinking here. So we will be going live just in a bit here, but we got to wrap. this particular episode talking about Man City. We got a big bad boy right in front of the Shakes. I'm chomping at the bit. How you feeling?
I'm ready, Bucks. I think of it this way. If you were going to play Man City twice a year, which we're obligated to, why not first game of the season at home? Let's do it that way.
After
You gotta
Euros.
play him anyway.
After Euros,
KDB's not playing. I think Sterling plays. I think he does start. I did read someone else on their squad wasn't going to play. I can't remember now who. But the big one was KDB is not playing.
Seems like KDB will not be in the match.
Pep said so. But Pep lies all the time.
He also speaks about Harry Kane.
Yeah, whereas Nuno says, I don't comment about other players. Take a lesson, Pep.
By the way,
I'm playing my players on other teams.
I'm playing my allergy flu game tonight.
Yeah, you sound a little stuffed up, Bucks.
I'm very stuffed up.
I'm trying to talk with even more energy to really
Foden
show.
Is out. Thank you, Alex Asher.
Yeah, Foden's out. That was the other one.
Foden and KDB being out is big time misses. Here's the thing. Spurs, if you're out there listening, fans of the show, fans of Spurs, but you hate me, here's the one thing we got to do. Go into this with no hopes, but just sit back and watch it and have fun watching it. This is the first match of a brand new season. We're playing a massive team. We are at home, and we recently owned Man City at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We are undefeated against them. It's time to go.
And people will be there. People will be there, Bucks.
Be there. It's going to be hyped up. I'm going in thinking I really don't care how this ends up as long as the effort is there. And what I've seen from Nuno so far, these boys are going to come in and drop sack. They're going to play hard. They're going to have a different little wrinkle to the game that they haven't shown throughout the preseason. Not that I think anybody watches preseason tape, but regardless, I'm really, really excited for this match. My starting 11, same exact starting 11 as the Arsenal match.
I love it. So, I mean, Sonny up top. You got Mora and Steve to the left and right. Dele shaded a little bit behind those guys because I don't think it's a true 4-2-3-1. I think he's going to be more in lockstep, shaded to the left side with Højbjerg and Skip. Reggie on the left, Tang on the right, Dave on the right side is the center half, Dyer on the left side, Hugo and net. That's what I had, $2. The only thing I could possibly see different, GLC is the starter over Dele. It just doesn't seem, though, to fit if you're watching the pattern of how the preseason has gone with the lineups for Nuno. I just think Dele has been getting this run because Nuno wants to see what he can give him. And this will be his chance to really show it up in the big time.
Dele's going to get the run.
I think he's going to
get the run. I think we played that Arsenal match similar to our approach for this match.
And I don't know if you did an 11 for Man City, and I appreciate it, Alex, because it was going to drive me nuts. I was looking it up. Foden was the other one without. That was going to be out. But it might be like a Mahrez, Torres, and I don't know. Grealish probably starts. He came in against Leicester in the Community Shield match, which they didn't score. So here we go. Man City not scoring goals, just like last year at the end. They have no striker on the squad. What's going on? So I think those guys are up front. I think it will be Gundogan. I think it will be Fernandinho. On the left will be Mendy, Cancelo on the right, Diaz and Ake in the middle. I don't know who else will be the other midfielder in there, Bucks. Maybe Rodri starts. Bernardo Silva maybe on the right side. But, I mean, they're going to put out like a pretty good by Man City standard squad, even though it will be minus Foden and KDB. But it's not like a world beater squad because they don't have an absolute striker. And I don't know. I think Spurs can maybe do some things in the midfield. So hopefully it's not like what we're used to with the Jose Park the Bus days and it's 80-20 possession and you're just hoping they fill every single gap. Because I think Spurs might be able to do a couple things here or there. But still, Man City's a better team. They are favored by a goal. Spurs are very, very plus on the odds side. So let's shock some people. Let's do it, Bucks.
They're still a damn good squad, regardless of those players being out. Well coached. They'll be an absolute handful for Spurs. But I think
I was just Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I agree with Alex Asher, who's asking this question in case we get to it. Kane does come off the bench.
Kane will come off the bench.
I think so. Just because we rattled through lineups, I didn't know if you were going to go back to it, bud. But Kane off the bench, GLC off the bench. It'll really depend where the game's at for the third guy. We'll have to see then.
Tanguy and Ndombele for the winner.
He's not
No,
dressing.
I don't have that foreseen. I'm just really excited to see how the team reacts to fans in the stands. We're playing Man City. It's got to be extremely tough to not be fully up for that first match of the season. Man City at home, fans back in the stands. Let it rip. Just have fun. I want the boys to have fun. I want them to feel the same way that I felt when I played the first game of Knockout, which is a basketball game. You know, Knockout, where you have the two balls and you knock each other out.
Yeah, you get in
I
a single
remember-
file line. Love that game.
I remember I played that and I was like, wow, my mind will never have a more fun game that's been introduced to me that is so simple yet so difficult and actually exhausting than that game. And then I was introduced to Spaceball, which involves trampolines on either side of a barrier fence, and you have to throw a ball through these small little gaps to try and peg the other person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not
You
familiar
want
with
to talk
this.
about this? This is Spaceball. We're playing Spaceball right now.
That's crazy.
Spurs
thoughts.
win 2-1. Sonny scores a brace.
Sun's definitely scoring. Let's just call it right there. Question is, I was going to call it 1-1 Bucks. Back
That's
to
fair.
Shakes.
No.
Back to Shakes being that guy.
Sonny gets the brace. Spurs get it done. We have our season preview coming up next. Danny Shakes, sign the people off.
Let's go. Let's beat Man City. Come on, you Spurs.
Coys, get it done. Beat Pep, beat City, drop sack. Tanganga starts on the right.